You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and this is my conversation with the excellent guitarist Martin Larsson. He's in a band called At the Gates. The reason for the conversation is to promote At the Gates' brand new album called To Drink from the Night Itself. Let's have a listen to what Martin has to say. Here we go. This must be the elusive Mr. Larsson. How are you, mate?
I'm fine. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm plugging away.
I'm sorry. I got the I had a schedule sent yesterday, and then I got the new one 20 minutes after I was supposed to call you.
Oh, is that right? Look, no dramas. I was just fucking with you. It's all good. It's all good. I'm just having fun with you. It's been a long day for me, mate, to be honest with you. So my voice is a bit.
Okay.
I've been on the radio and doing all sorts of things, so my voice is a bit not sensitive. You know when you've got a sore throat. Yeah.
Okay. I'm stressed and confused on my end, so
yeah.
we'll try and make it work.
Oh, don't worry about that.
No, just because a lot of technical. I'm not, I'm analog. I'm not used to this.
Okay.
It's all right. I'll be.
Okay. All right. Well, look, how much time have we got? Actually, I better ask you that before we kick things off.
This is the last one, so I need to do. You have about a half an hour at least.
Okay, sweet. All right. Well, how's things been going with the Australian media? Have you had a lot to do with us over the years, and are we any different to the rest of the world?
Not really in a difference. It's mostly Thomas who does the interviews, so I haven't done too many. But I've done a few phoners with Australia, but I can't really say if they're any different. We're all people,
Yeah, I hear. I've done hundreds of interviews in my time now, and I've done more interviews with people from two parts of the world. Perth in Western Australia, so of course here on the continent I'm on, and Sweden. No idea how that's turned out, but I've spoken to so many bands from Sweden, all wonderful artists, Marcus Jadell from Avatarium, Leif Edling from Candlemass, and everybody's fantastic from Sweden. I'm convinced you're the nicest people on the planet.
Oh, well, thank you.
All right, so, mate, the new album. Now, look, I haven't had a chance to sample it, which is unfortunate, because I'm sure it's an absolute cracker, as everything that you've ever put your guitar tracks to, under the very hallowed At the Gates moniker, always is. But what have you got to say or share about the album To Drink from the Night Itself?
It's we're trying to honor our past and at the same time look forward and try new things, and it feels like we've managed to come up with a good mixture of old and new stuff on this one, and hopefully we're gonna keep on going in this direction. There are a few hints on the last album of the direction that we're going further in now. The stuff that's different on the last one, a little bit more dramatic and cinematic, or what you will, songs like Order from Chaos and Night Eternal. There's a bit more of that on this new album. And also it's a little bit more death metal-y, our roots.
Okay.
I think we felt that the last album, satisfied as we are, we're really proud and happy with it still. But it's a little clean, It's a little tidy in a way.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
This one's darker and more harsh, I suppose. This new one.
I think that'll be music to fans' ears. That one right there. I'm 40 years of age, so I don't so much remember when Slaughter of the Soul came out, but I certainly remember things changing a lot after it came out. So beforehand, you had excellent outfits like Bolt Thrower, the Kyle Willits fronted Bolt Thrower, but then you guys came out and everything changed, it's fair to say, and you had a big saying that because obviously you were the guitarist on the album. So are you aware of how much you've influenced modern heavy metal? And really, I mean, bands are still ripping off Slaughter of the Soul. It's probably the most copied album outside of the self-titled Rage Against the Machine album.
Yeah. Yeah, well, people say that off and on, but it's, I think it's healthy to try and keep a bit of a distance to all that. And also, for me personally, from mid-90s onward, to me, the metal scene became so boring. So it was so clinical and produced and all that. And I missed my underground feel of death metal. So I started drifting more to hardcore punk and stuff like that felt more genuine.
Okay.
And then now it's healthier than ever, the metal scene. And it bounced back within just a few years, I suppose, around the millennium. But I wasn't aware of it at the time. So I'm constantly backtracking and finding bands from 10 years ago who are brilliant now. So what I'm trying to say with many words is I wasn't really aware of our impact on the scene because I wasn't really paying attention around,
yeah, sure,
late 90s and early noughties.
Yeah, look, Dark Tranquility, In Flames. I know In Flames have changed a lot since they were really, I'm not going to say they were copying you guys, but they really came out and got your template and brought it to the masses, so to speak, after you guys broke up, and they really became big in your absence. So it was really interesting to see, just to support my comments about the influence of Slaughter of the Soul, that Metal Injection webzine has ranked Slaughter of the Soul number 8 in their list of top 10 influential heavy metal albums, and I'm pretty sure that's an all-time list. So it's not just me; it's pretty much a universally held view that without Slaughter of the Soul, a certain sound which has now come through in so much of heavy metal. And another point that I'll make is, even I don't know whether he did this intently or on purpose, or he'd listened to Slaughter of the Soul or any one of your earlier albums, but Rob Flynn in Machine Head through the 2000s adopted a lot of that, that twin lead guitar Iron Maiden style approach that you incorporated into death metal very early on. Even bands like that were starting to do it, and I remember comments that Rob and his then guitarist Logan Madder made in the mid to late 90s, where they were talking about that they were nothing like Rob Halford and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden alike, and not 10 years later they were sounding very much like them. And in my view, a lot of that comes down to your influence, because you guys were the first, and you as the guitarist were really the first to sort of join those dots. So, I mean, I'll stop talking about your influence in the sec, but I think it's an opportunity for me to talk to a bloke who's a real original and who's an excellent guitarist, and to sort of impress upon you that you have made a significant impact on heavy metal. So congratulations for doing that.
Well, thank you. Well, I think what happened for us was because the earlier albums are really intricate and just riffs on riffs on riffs. And when we made Slaughter of the Soul, we came out of a really bad time, had crashed tours and whatever, and it was a little bit of a make or break feeling, and we wanted to go back to making just a classic metal album, but the way At the Gates would do it. We grew up with Maiden and Priest and all those bands. That's our roots, and we wanted to make one of those kinds of albums. But then also we had all this history that we grew up with all the extreme music as well. Well, I suppose Slayer most of all.
Yep.
So it came through that filter also, that Slayer beat thing. So it's in one way, I suppose it's like a comfort album for us.
Yeah.
Just Am I making any sense now?
Yeah, no, you're making complete sense. It was an album that was a summary of your influences, but you did it your way. You did it your way,
Yeah, yeah.
and it is a uniquely original album because of that. And I could tell I've always been a fan of Maiden, and I could tell where you guys were coming from through that. But with the exception of maybe Carcass, but even they were very different to you guys. I hadn't heard
Yeah.
anybody do that. I think everybody felt the same way, and it really set the tone for metal afterwards. So, yeah, I do think, yeah, metal in the late 90s, for people like you and I, it was a very interesting time. I think the Stuart Anstis-led Cradle of Filth did some really good things between 1996 and 1998 before, they've only just sort of really started to come back into their own, courtesy of they've got a new guitarist who's very much of the same mind, I think, as what Stuart Anstis was. So they're putting a lot of that Iron Maiden and bombastic twin lead stuff back into their music. But heavy metal, to me, should be very adventurous. It should be music that is very challenging. And it's meant to be music that's very inspirational, if you like, and as soon as it becomes safe, and I don't know whether that's the point you were making where it all started to sound very sort of samey in the late 90s onwards until there was some resurgence there in the 2000s. But yeah, I agree with you. It was a very hard time for metal in the late 90s. It went underground completely, and unless you were into some brutal death metal outfits that were sort of here today, gone tomorrow, or just released some demos, it was very hard to walk into a record store like a HMV or a Virgin and find a metal album. Even your stuff was a bit scarce to find. You had to go into an independent record store and find it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
as I said, those are my kind of dark years as for metal. I still listen heavily to all the old stuff, but I didn't dig out any new things.
Yeah. What did you think of some of the leading lights of that era, like Pantera?
I was never heavily into Pantera. I listened a bit in the early 90s, but I have to plead ignorant. Sorry.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. And, mate, what did you do between 1996 or when the band broke up? And I think you At the Gates reconvened in about 2007, if I'm not mistaken, for some live shows. And you've sort of been on and off again since then. But what did you just find a day job in between then and have a family, or something else?
No family, but I was a postman for 8 years, and I studied a bit, and I kept on playing, but hardly got out of the rehearsal room. I had a couple of punk bands. I had a prog rock band. I try different things when I got the chance, but. I suppose, that long hiatus made me realize that this is what I want to do.
Yes, okay. It's funny, I was talking to Opus from Amorphous. Do you know the guys in Amorphous at all?
No, well, I wrote to one of them, like in 1990 or something, but that was very, very briefly.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say I know them.
He's been out of the game for a long time, Opus, their bass player, lovely guy. And it turns out he's got a role in the Finnish Parliament, so working for the government, but actually in Parliament House there, whatever we call it Parliament House here in Australia. I'm not sure what they call it there in Finland. But he's only just got back into the band after about a 20-year absence. So what you said just a moment ago resonates in that, you can't walk away from playing heavy metal or rock and roll, can you? It's in your blood. No matter what you do in between, you always eventually come back to it.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I can only speak for myself, but it's definitely true for me.
Yeah, it's true for a lot of people that I've spoken to, actually, even if they're just sort of playing in a band that is around town or what have you, and covers. I mean, I play covers music, so I'm a bass guitarist, so I love playing funk and disco music, even though I do love listening to heavy metal. But as a bass guitarist, you can probably imagine if you want to do slap and thumb, Larry Graham style bass playing, heavy metal really isn't it, except for the...
No. Well, maybe if you're in a weird Japanese band, but that's probably the only place where it could work.
Are you talking to that fella that dresses up like a woman? Talking about that fella that dresses up like a woman and plays bass guitar like one of the best bass guitarists you've ever seen? Have you seen that guy?
Probably not. Doesn't ring a bell.
Well, I can't remember his name, but he dresses up in lingerie. He dresses up in
Oh yeah.
lingerie and women's outfits, like very skimpy outfits, and then proceeds to play slap bass like very few people can. And he's from Japan, and I'm not sure what his go
Oh
is,
yeah, yeah.
but it's
Oh okay.
yeah. When you said Japan, because the singer in my old band was Japanese, and he was always telling me
Oh
hilarious
okay.
jokes. They have a tremendous sense of humour, the Japanese, when you get to know them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just heard. I don't even remember the name of the band, but some kind of death metal band with slap bass from Japan the other day. Not sure I like it, but it's somehow the Japanese have a way of making things work that shouldn't.
Yeah, it's a good way of
It's
putting it.
probably, it's probably just down to what's the word? I can't find the word, but if you have to believe in it yourself, and
Yeah,
then you can make
I
it
think
work.
you've got to suspend disbelief, haven't you? At times, like you've got to sort of
Yeah, yeah,
park your ideas of what reality is and go, I'm just going to go with the flow here because it's not going to work otherwise. That's especially with that bass guitarist that I mentioned a moment ago. I'll try and find his name a bit later, but yeah. But hey, what did you think of Thomas's work when he was out of away from At the Gates in The Haunted? Was that something that you sort of looked at and could potentially have been a part of that? And I might have missed something. You might have been a part of it, but what are your thoughts on The Haunted?
Well, I'm pretty much into all different kinds of At the Gates related bands. There's a sense of quality to what everyone does. My favorite Haunted album, if that's a topic, is the Dead Eye, the very progressive one. I think to me that was their pinnacle. And Tompa's always been in brilliant bands, Dysphere and Great Deceiver and Skid System. I've actually played the Skid System off and on for a few times.
Yeah.
But not along Tompa. If the band consists of people who know what they're doing, no matter the music, it's gonna be good.
I think also too. I think Adrian. I've met Adrian before, just at a meet and greet when he was in Cradle of Filth. So just a shake of the hand sort of thing. Sign the CD, you walk away. But Adrian's one of the very best extreme metal drummers ever. What's it like playing in a band with him? Because he doesn't seem to put a foot wrong.
No, it's very rewarding and inspiring. I don't know any person who puts more hard work and dedication into what they're doing than Adrian. So, to be honest, it's a privilege to share a stage with that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And have you been to Australia before?
Yeah, a couple of times, 2 or 3 times with At the Gates. I haven't,
right.
I'd like to go and see things on my own, but there's the matter of time and money. But one day.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, one day.
One day ago. Sorry, yeah, yeah. No, it's. What's your take on the Australian fan? Are we? I know I've asked about the Australian journalist and the questions we ask, but are Australian fans or in what way are they different, or are we any different to the rest of the world in your view?
Not that I've thought about, but different journalists from different parts of the world ask this question off and on, and so I've had some time to think about it, and I'd say that it's not a matter of nationality as much or culture. It's more your subculture, It's because metalheads seem to be similar all over the world.
Indeed.
I think that's there's more of a difference between a metalhead somewhere and whatever, just pick your subculture
Yeah, you're
in the
talking
same place.
death or black metal or what have you, or are you talking about the goth or the goth thing or something?
Yeah, yeah, whatever, But so there are more similarities between metalheads in like Australia and Singapore, or Brazil, or what have you, than that differences, I suppose.
Yeah, you're spot on.
But,
Actually,
but then again, I only see them in this controlled environment where I'm doing my thing. So maybe I'm a little bit ignorant too. So I don't know.
oh well, you toured the world and places that I don't. If you've played there, let me know. But a place like the Philippines or Indonesia, they'd be rabid for at the gates. I'm a very big believer in the Asian market, and there are so many heavy metal fans in the Asian market. My wife, her family is from the Philippines, and I know for a fact there are so many metalheads
really?
over there. Yeah, yeah. And
Because we were just there.
Oh, really?
Like 2 weeks ago. Indonesia, I'd love to go, and hopefully in a few years' time we'll go. But Philippines, we were just there. But it was a festival, so it's hard to, a huge 20,000 people festival, and we played late, and it was blazing heat. So the crowd was a little, it seemed a little tired, but subdued, I'm sure that was, I'm happy they still stuck around when we played. We played, I think, we were the last but one band for the day, and it was blazing heat, and people had been there since noon. So as I said, I'm happy that they were still there when we played.
Yeah,
and it's judging from that experience, I think it's a little unfair.
Yeah, look, we spent not a lot of time. We spend a lot of time over there. It's fair to say, and we do like it over there. But we travel, we go to the islands. But when I was on the island of Cebu, where my wife's family is from, I'm pretty sure it was Cebu, because I've got the local newspaper, and the American death and black metal band called Angel Corpse. They came to town, and they were playing to a small club in town. And look, because I talk to a lot of Australian artists, I've been telling them, look, you guys have got to find a way to get over there because it's an untapped market. I'll have to call it what it is. It's an untapped market, and there are fans over there who would love to hear heavy metal live and in the flesh. And if more bands, I think, can open more doorways there, then it'll just become a routine thing, and it'll give more bands globally an opportunity to play and tour the world as well, rather than just playing all of the so-called Western nations.
Definitely. But I've thought about that too, that there are so many, for us, so many gray areas metal-wise on the world map that should be looked into. And also me, I'm not talking about metal at all. I'm a bit of an explorer myself. I'm curious about the world. I want to see things. So whatever gives me a free opportunity to see the world, I'm there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one there. It's a bit hard for me these days with the two kids, but we do take them with us everywhere, but they're like bloody bacteria petri dishes, kids. They end up getting sick, and then you end up getting sick because they get bloody sick.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. It's you don't realise how good you've got it when you're single or unattached and without kids in terms of the travel. But look, I'm sure when they get a bit older and they won't be bloody touching everything in unusual places and then getting sick within an hour of touching everything. It'll be a lot more fun for us.
Right.
But, hey, I'll ask you one more question before I let you go, mate, if that's okay. But you are, in my view, you are a revered guitarist, so I need to ask you about your gear. What type of guitar are you using, and what's your amp setup and your effects setup look like in 2018?
Well, we just started playing with, Ola from Haunted. He's got his own brand now called Solar.
Okay.
So I've never been a gearhead myself. I've always played whatever's put into my hands. But I'm really happy with this Solar guitar that I have now. Okay. I played Ibanez until recently.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. It's fine.
The thin neck would work really well for you. Yeah.
Yeah, but with the solar, and this is a really new thing. It's just since a few months back. But we have a guy, just a couple of hours away that we can, I can just go and knock on his door or call him or whatever. It seems easier in all kinds of ways. And right now we're playing PV amps. I just got a new what's up 60. Oh man, I'm too tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah,
upgraded 5150.
Yep.
And but we were talking about places like Asia that are, some places are kind of new to metal, and you don't always get what you're asking for gear-wise, backline wise. So we started using the pods now.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
So, I'm sorry. I should know this.
No, that's okay.
I don't know the name of what we're using.
I'm a bit like that myself.
The pod. But just to have your a sound that's the same.
Yeah. So using the Line 6 equipment.
Depending on the cab, mostly the same wherever you go. So that's like a safe thing, and I'm kind of new to that also right now. So I'm getting more and more comfortable with. There's always a slight delay when you're changing sounds, so you have to step on it a little bit ahead of when you want it to change. All those things.
Yes. Yep. Know that feeling myself. That's why I stopped using effects as a bass guitarist, actually. Yeah, it was just, I shouldn't need to use it anyway, and I don't anymore, but yeah, I also play guitar, but my stage instrument predominantly is bass guitar, and I just have everything in a rack these days, Sans amp and my compressor and all the rest of it, so it's all about the wrist for me, getting it right in the wrist, because I'm doing a lot of slap bass and stuff, and if I get it right there, I generally get my sound right. Yeah, I have Music Man basses, Stingrays and Sterlings, but I've learnt, to control my tone. Even, I think it's fair to say, and by throwing it off my rack, by just how heavy I pick the strings. Sometimes if I pick light, because if I rely on too much electronics, it's like the goblins get into it, and bad things can happen. And I get really frustrated, as I'm sure you can appreciate.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
All right, mate. Look, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for the conversation. It's a privilege to talk to you finally. And I really hope people recognise you for the wonderful contribution that you've made to heavy metal via your guitar playing, because you've had an extraordinary career, and I just hope you keep on doing what you're doing and continue to have an excellent career in a band like At the Gates.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No worries.
And thank you for your time and support.
No problems. Well, if you come down to Australia, I'd love to shake your hand and have a beer with you, mate. So, no worries at all.
Yeah. So you're in Perth, are you?
Brisbane. Oh, I'm on the Sunshine Coast. Which is a bit
right, Brisbane. Yeah. Oh, you said you were talking to Perth. Sorry, I got confused.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You were talking to Perth a lot. Yeah. No, we'll definitely come to Brisbane one time. I don't know what the plans are right now, but I know there are plans for Australia at least, and usually we play Brisbane if we come to Australia. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm seeing your compatriots in Europe tomorrow night. Actually, I had a chat to Joey a couple of weeks back, so I'm going to be doing a review in his show. I'm sure it'll be a fab show because it's a 2-hour show. So that's what I was saying. So many artists from Sweden. Yeah, such a great country for music. So it's it's cool.
Well, it's the secret. It's the public music schools that we used to have.
Is that right?
I don't think we do anymore. Yeah. It was all state financed back in the 70s, 80s. So basically everyone played instruments for a few years in school.
Well, that explains it then, doesn't it? Because there are just so many Swedish artists the world over that, from Yngwie, of course, everybody knows Yngwie, but just in orchestra pits playing the violin, it's just a country that I don't know why it's not more synonymous for its music. But as far as I'm concerned, it's in terms of the modern era, I don't think any country single-handedly, from ABBA through to you guys, through to Yngwie, through to Candlemass, I could keep going. Avatarium. There are so many wonderful bands that come out of Sweden. It's a shame that the public funding isn't there for music anymore because everything was such top quality.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. I think we're getting by, at least. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's all you can hope for playing rock and roll. I call everything rock and roll these days. I know you guys are playing a variation of it, but still, all you can do when you're playing rock and roll is just do your thing.
That's fine with me. All right, thank you. Thanks for your time and support.
No problems, mate. All the very best. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, mate. Bye. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with the guitarist in a band called At the Gates, Mr. Martin Larsson. Thank you so much for listening.